Hello and thanks for joining us for our mid-morning edition of Arirang News. I'm Mark Broom. Let's start by taking a look at the day's headlines. He's back again after his train was spotted leaving the north last night. Chinese state media confirms North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is in China for his fourth summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping. In a shock move, World Bank President Yong Kim advises the World Bank's board he will resign effective February 1st, more than 3 years ahead of the end of his term. The Korean American says he's going back to the private sector. Plus, not great news for South Korea's biggest tech giant. Samsung Electronics sees its fourth quarter operating profit tumble almost 30% as the slowdown in China erodes demand for the company's products. Only one place to start this morning. North Korean and Chinese state media have confirmed that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is in China for a 4-day visit. A train that had been suspected to be carrying him, and it has been confirmed now, passed through China's northeastern Dandong train station late last night. For more, let's connect to our Unification Ministry correspondent Oh Jung-hee, who's standing by for us on the line. So, Jung-hee, fill us in on what you're hearing.
Mark, North Korea's Korean Central News Agency and China's Xinhua News Agency have both reported this morning that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is visiting China for 4 days from January 7th to January 10th. Chinese President Xi Jinping invited Kim Jong-un and, along with Kim, his wife Lee Seol-ju and top aides from the regime, including Kim Yong-chol, and a couple of foreign affairs officials like Lee Soo-yong and Lee Yong-ho went to Beijing as well. This is Kim Jong-un's fourth visit to China. He met with Xi Jinping 3 times last year, once before his first summit with South Korean President Moon Jae-in, once before his June summit with U.S. President Donald Trump, and once right after the Singapore summit. Recently, Washington has been creating the atmosphere for another North Korea-U.S. summit, which could take place soon, and this has led to the speculation that Kim could be in China to discuss with the Chinese president what's to come next. Kim Jong-un may also discuss involving China and the signing of the peace treaty, as he, through his New Year's address, called for an end to the decades-long war and for multilateral negotiations to set a permanent peace. That's all I have for now, but I'll be watching the story develop and bring you more updates later on. Back to you, Mark.
OK, Jung-hee, thank you very much for that report. And yes, do keep us updated. Now, the world's biggest smartphone maker, Samsung Electronics, has released its earnings report for 2018. It shows Samsung recorded lower than expected operating profits during the October to December period. But for the entirety of 2018, the company's sales soared to an all-time high. However, it's fair to say that Samsung Electronics finished the year on a bit of a bum note. Its operating profits in the fourth quarter tumbled 28.7% on year to around $9.7 billion, while fourth quarter sales dropped 10.6% to around $52.8 billion. Sales during the whole of 2018 surpassed $217.7 billion due to the semiconductor boom. South Korea's current account recorded a surplus for the 81st month in a row in November of last year, but the size dropped to a 7-month low, according to the Bank of Korea on Tuesday. This is mainly due to slower export growth. The current account, which records Korea's transactions with the rest of the world, including its trade in goods and services, saw a surplus of almost $5.1 billion in November. The goods account had a surplus of around $8 billion. That's down from 11.5 in November 2017. The central bank attributed the lower numbers to falling semiconductor prices and the ongoing trade war between the U.S. and China. The head of the World Bank is on his way out. Yong Kim announced his sudden resignation on Monday, despite having 3 years left in his term. The Korean American also did not give a reason for his decision, but said he will be stepping down on February 1st. The World Bank says Kim will join a firm to focus on increasing infrastructure investments in developing countries. The former medical doctor will also rejoin the board of Partners in Health, an organization he co-founded. Another World Bank official will take the reins as interim chief before President Trump selects Kim's successor. South Korea has released a video in 6 more languages aiming to refute claims by Japan that one of its planes was locked on by a South Korean warship's targeting radar. The clip, already released by the Defense Ministry in Korean and English, shows Seoul's position that its Navy did not intend to threaten the Japanese patrol aircraft and did not use radar on it. The video also urges Japan to stop politicizing the issue. It asks the Japanese government to answer why, in international waters, the aircraft was conducting a low-altitude flight in a menacing way to disrupt the warship's humanitarian efforts. According to a military source, South Korea and Japan are currently setting up working-level talks on the issue. U.S. and Chinese officials started their first day of talks on Monday, aimed at resolving their ongoing trade dispute. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Arirang. So, Arirang, this is the first vice-ministerial level meeting since Presidents Trump and Xi agreed to a 90-day ceasefire in imposing tariffs.
That's right, Mark. The delegation of both sides are being led by both countries' respective deputy trade representatives, but there was a surprise appearance at the negotiations in Beijing by Liu He, Chinese Vice Premier, and he is also the key economic advisor to President Xi. As of yet, there is no indication of what is being discussed, but China's foreign ministry expressed optimism.
Both sides expressed will to work together to implement the consensus of 2 heads of state reached in talks in Argentina on December 1, 2018, and would hold positive and constructive talks to resolve China-U.S. disputes.
The 90-day ceasefire has provided some relief to a year of escalated trade tensions between the world's 2 largest economies, but some economic experts are skeptical over whether any major breakthroughs will come out of the 2-day meeting. A range of thorny issues were expected to be covered, including tariffs, intellectual property protection, as well as cyber attacks. Avalanche warnings have been issued across parts of the Alps after a weekend of heavy snowfall led to a number of deaths across Austria, Germany and Italy. At least 7 people are known to have died across the 3 countries. Rescuers are searching for several missing people elsewhere in the Alps. Thousands of winter tourists remain trapped in major resorts, and the extreme weather has also forced more than 100 flights to be cancelled at Munich airport. Now, history was made at the 2019 Golden Globes Awards over the weekend. Korean-Canadian actress Sandra Oh became the first person of Asian descent to host Hollywood's 2nd biggest annual celebration of film and TV. In another first, Oh also became the first woman of Korean descent to win a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a TV drama. Lee Seung-jae has more.
2019 is the year of the Golden Pig. And for Korean-Canadian actress Sandra Oh, who was born in the year of the pig, she kicked off her year in golden fashion. The 47-year-old made history at the start of the night, co-hosting the glitzy event with Andy Samberg, becoming the first Asian to host the awards. But after that, came this.
And the Golden Globe goes to Sandra Oh!
The win makes Oh the first actress of Korean descent to receive a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a TV drama. She also becomes the first Asian actress to win multiple Golden Globes, as she won in 2006 for a supporting role in the hit TV show Grey's Anatomy. She made sure to thank her parents in an emotional acceptance speech.
There are 2 people here tonight that I am so grateful that they're here with me. I'd like to thank my mother and my father. 엄마, 아빠, 사랑해요. Thank you, everyone.
Bohemian Rhapsody won Best Motion Picture for Drama, beating A Star is Born. Rami Malek, who played Freddie Mercury in the Queen biopic, won Best Performance by an Actor in a Motion Picture for Drama. The movie portraying the extraordinary life of Queen's frontman was a smash hit around the world and also set box office records in South Korea. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
A marvel. There is only one.
The UN Special Rapporteur on North Korean human rights is in Seoul for talks on ways to hopefully make some progress on the issue. On Monday, Thomas Quintana met with South Korea's Vice Ministers of Unification and Foreign Affairs. He expressed support for Seoul's efforts to build peace and prosperity on the peninsula and stressed that cooperation with the international community should be expanded to make progress on the humanitarian issue. The officials explained Seoul will continue working to improve inter-Korean relations, ultimately with the goal of solving humanitarian issues and improving human rights. Addressing members of the diplomatic corps in his traditional New Year's greetings on Monday, Pope Francis backed the ongoing dialogue aimed at soothing tensions here on the Korean Peninsula. In his speech to the ambassadors from 183 countries that maintain diplomatic relations with the Holy See, he said positive signs are being witnessed between the two Koreas. He also wished for a solution that brings eternal peace, cooperation and reconciliation for the people of Korea. Now, it was a winning start for South Korea at the 2019 Asian Cup in the UAE. Paulo Bento's men beating the Philippines 1-0 in their tournament opener on Monday. South Korea had a bit of a tough time breaking down a resilient Philippines defense, but striker Hwang Ui-jo finally broke the deadlock in the 66th minute, with China beating Kyrgyzstan 2-1. In the day's other Group C game, China sit atop the group on goals scored after the first round of games. South Korea's next game is against Kyrgyzstan. Kickoff for that one is 1 a.m. Korea time on Saturday. The hot favourites to win the tournament, Iran, they thrashed Yemen 5-0 to start their campaign with a bang. After months of controversy, frustration and anger related to two sizable increases, the South Korean government has introduced a new minimum wage setting system. It's hoped the new system will improve fairness so all related parties in the country's labour market can smoothly accommodate the changes, starting with the next hike set for 2020. Kim Jong-un reports.
The Ministry of Employment and Labor announced that the Minimum Wage Commission designated to determine wage increases is to be divided into two sub-bodies. A committee of 9 experts will set the range for the new minimum wage rates. Among the 15 candidates recommended for the panel, 5 each are supported by labor management and government. A separate committee made up of representatives of companies' non-regular workers, public interest commissioners, and small businesses will make the final decision. Its members will be reduced to 15 or 21 members in total. The new system reflects the recommendations made by the committee's task force of 18 experts, which has been active for 4 months leading up to December. It has also taken into account global standards set by the International Labour Organization.
The new system will be more reasonable in that the rates will be determined using experts' opinion, which are based on objective figures. The decision-making process will be more rational than the previous process, which was a tug-of-war between labor and management.
Up until now, there were a total of 27 members, and 9 of them were public interest commissioners nominated by the labor minister and appointed by the president. However, there was criticism that these commissioners, who usually had the casting vote in determining the wage rate, follow the government's views on the minimum wage increases. In the new system, the government won't have as much leverage to nominate or recommend public interest commissioners. For 10 days starting January 21st, the government will gather public opinion on the new system through online channels, and experts will conduct debates on reforming the new minimum wage setting system. Adjusting the pace of the minimum wage hikes has been cited in business circles, particularly among small and medium-sized companies and the services sector, as the main reason why employers have been reluctant to hire more people. In line with its people-centered growth policies that entail raising incomes, the Moon Jae-in administration hiked this year's minimum wage by 10.9% from the previous year to $7.50, following a drastic 16.4% hike from 2017. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Now, staying with economic news, President Moon Jae-in met on Monday with the heads of small and mid-sized firms. During their sit-down, the president said job creation is the most pressing issue facing South Korea, and he urged everyone there to do their part to revitalize the sluggish South Korean economy. Shin Se-min reports.
President Moon Jae-in is focused this year on revitalizing the country's economy, which has been stuck in a rut of slow growth. Speaking Monday to 200 leaders of small and mid-sized businesses, the president promised his support, calling SMEs the driving force of the administration's people-centered economy.
가장 시급한 현안인 일자리도 전체 고용의 80% 이상을 차지하는 중소기업의 고용이 늘어야 해결될 수 있습니다.
President Moon guaranteed total government backing so that the business leaders can feel the changes themselves. He promised spending $17.8 billion this year to fund R&D for SMEs and venture firms. President Moon said 4,000 additional smart factories will also be made this year, which will go toward the goal of 30,000 smart factories by 2020, and called on SMEs to do their part to create more investment opportunities. The president also said that adding innovative startups and SMEs little by little will eventually help breathe life into the economy and make it more resilient. The president's promises are in line with his New Year pledge to improve the country's economy, which he has emphasized multiple times. He had a New Year's event for the first time at the Korea Federation for SMEs, speaking to companies both big and small in the hope of getting them to make more investments. The president is scheduled to attend a similar meeting sometime next week with the country's leading conglomerates and mid-sized firms, as well as a separate meeting soon with small businesses and the self-employed. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Since its launch, just slightly over 2.5 years ago now, the Moon Jae-in administration, as we just heard there, has made job creation one of its top priorities. And while older age groups in South Korea enjoy a slightly wider range of employment opportunities these days, the jobless rate for people in their 20s unfortunately remains stubbornly high, no matter what the government tries to do about it. Che Xiong reports.
The country's Trade Research Institute said Sunday that the youth employment rate hasn't recovered to above the level it was in the 2009 financial crisis. But other age groups, particularly the 50s and 60s, have seen increases in employment rates. The institute said the lack of jobs and the increased number of people in their 20s are behind the low youth employment rate. The employment rate is calculated by dividing the number of people employed from the working population. But the number of people in their 20s has risen due to the sons and daughters of baby boomers reaching that age. The working population for the 20s last year was about 7 million, up nearly 300,000 from 2013. The number of people in their 20s employed in the manufacturing sector showed a fall of roughly 30,000 between 2015 and 2018. But the employment rate for people in their 50s displayed a dramatic increase in the manufacturing, construction, and service industries in the same period. The rate for people in their 60s also saw a hike in the manufacturing and construction industries, thanks to improving health conditions. The institute warns the government should roll out measures for the unemployed people in their 20s because their unemployment, if prolonged, will drag down the country's economic growth and increase welfare expenses. The institute recommends restoring the manufacturing industry's competitiveness while fostering high-value added service sectors. Che Xiong, Arirang News.
Now, workers at South Korea's largest bank are on their first nationwide strike in almost 20 years. On this Tuesday, the walkout at KB Gungmin Bank comes as last-minute negotiations on Monday between the Labour Union and management failed to produce a compromise. The union wants the bank to change its maximum salary policy, performance-related pay grade system, and give workers profit-sharing bonuses in line with the industry standard. About 2/3 of the bank employees are on strike as a result. Hundreds of branches will be severely impacted by the strike on Tuesday, so keep that in mind if you have to do some banking there today. The union says 4 additional strikes are scheduled through March if their demands are not met. The world's biggest tech exhibition, namely the Consumer Electronics Show, kicks off in Las Vegas on Tuesday local time. Some 4,500 companies from tech giants to startups and 180,000 people from across the globe are set to attend. The Internet of Things, AI, robots, autonomous cars and 5G technology will be the focal points of the show, which runs through Friday. As for the South Korean firms at the show, Samsung Electronics and LG Electronics, they'll be there unveiling their new smart home appliances and also those 8K TVs you're looking at there. Hyundai Motor, that's going to unveil a new concept car. It's called the Walking Car, and it's an electric vehicle which uses robotics technology to tackle challenging terrain. Now, it's fair to say that normally when we hear Samsung Electronics and Apple in the same sentence together, it's related to their once bitter corporate rivalry or their patent infringement battle, but not this time. The South Korean tech titan is working with its old foe, becoming the first TV brand to provide iTunes and AirPlay 2 service to its 2019 smart TV users. Hwang Ui reports.
For the first time ever, Apple's iTunes will be accessible on another brand's devices, and that brand is Apple's global rival, Samsung. On Sunday, the two tech giants announced a partnership in which Apple is allowing people to make iTunes purchases and view them on Samsung products with no restrictions. Starting this spring, when Apple launches its iTunes Movies and TV Shows application, Samsung's 2019 smart TV users will have access to thousands of movies and TV episodes, including a large selection of 4K HDR movies. And users can search for content on iTunes through Samsung's search engine New Bixby, making searches easy for users. Samsung's 2019 smart TVs will also allow the streaming of videos, music, and photos through Apple's AirPlay 2. According to one tech analyst, the move will benefit both Apple and Samsung.
More people are watching videos through their televisions nowadays, and Samsung is the #1 seller in the global TV market. So it's a win-win for both of them, as Apple gets to provide its content through the television that sells most around the world. And for Samsung, providing iTunes and AirPlay 2 services means being able to provide more content only to its customers.
Eddie Q, Senior Vice President of Internet Software and Services at Apple, said they look forward to bringing the iTunes and AirPlay 2 experience to even more customers around the world through Samsung Smart TVs. So iPhone, iPad, and Mac users have yet another way to enjoy all their favorite content on the biggest screen in their home. Hwang Ui, Arirang News.
Good morning. A thick haze has engulfed most areas with high levels of ultra-fine dust, but colder winds will blow in from the afternoon and we could see improved air quality. Temperatures will drop a bit though. Afternoon highs will be around freezing here in the capital, so you might want to have an extra layer on your way out today. Busan and Jeju will get up to 8 and 9 degrees Celsius respectively. Meanwhile, the west coast of Chungcheongdo and Jeollado provinces, as well as Jeju Island, will see light snow flurries starting this evening, while Korea's easternmost islands of Dokdo and Ulleungdo could see heavy snow of up to 10 centimeters until tomorrow. But the rest of the country will be under a good amount of sunshine. Temperatures will drop even further tomorrow morning to -10 degrees Celsius here in the capital. But readings will rebound to more bearable levels on Thursday. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now. Do stay tuned to Arirang TV, and we'll have our next newscast coming up at noon, Korea time, with our very own Lee Ji-yoon. So until then, goodbye.
Planning a self-guided tour in Korea?